At the beginning, Yoo Jung-hyuk is actually quite difficult to like, especially if you are a hardcore Kim Duk-ja fan, unless you are absolutely biased towards cool and handsome characters, I guess. Why did I say that? Well, Duk-ja almost died multiple times because of him, you know. The first time was at the bridge when Jung-hyuk threw Duk-ja into the monster's mouth. If Duk-ja had been ripped apart and got digested inside the sea serpent's stomach, he would have died. The second time was when Jung-hyuk took Duk-ja's spot on the third scenario. Like what Duk-ja had said, Jung-hyuk is powerful enough to survive that night without being inside the green zone. But Jung-hyuk gets in his way. It's as if he intentionally showed up in that place for an opportunity to have Duk-ja dead, and then kidnap Gil-young. Both Duk-ja and Gil-young would have been fine if he wasn't around. Duk-ja would not have suffered like that either. So much for his promise that they'll be companions, huh? If Duk-ja did not prepare for emergencies like that, he could have died, right? And after that, Jung-hyuk had the nerve to recruit little Gil-young just because he saw potential in the boy after using the Sage's Eye. Did he seriously expect the boy to join him after he had his daddy almost die in front of his eyes? Unbelievable. Then in the later chapters, he started chasing after Duk-ja to murder him. Like, literally. Starting when he thought Duk-ja had kidnapped his sister. Yes, Duk-ja caused that misunderstanding himself, but even before all that, Jung-hyuk already had killing intentions on him in his thoughts just because Duk-ja pissed him off. And even if you dismiss those killing intents as something Jung-hyuk just said, both verbally and in thoughts, out of anger, but not really intending to do it, still, just like what Duk-ja had said, Jung-hyuk is a psychopath who doesn't hesitate to kill. So anything is possible. Duk-ja got tired of Jung-hyuk trying to kill him every time they see each other, that he tried to make Jung-hyuk swear that he won't murder him anymore, which Jung-hyuk finds very, very, very difficult to take an oath of. But despite all that, Yoo Jung-hyuk is not easy to hate either, especially if you are aware of or have realized the following. For number 1, as a main character, Kim Duk-ja has plot armor. No matter what Jung-hyuk does to him, there's no way Duk-ja's gonna die on as early as episode 12. Number 2 is that Yoo Jung-hyuk is the second main character of the series. Like in a lot of shonen anime and manga, even if such a character has been so hostile towards the main character, he's meant to become a close friend or at least an ally to the MC in the long run. Usually, these types are the fan favorites. Speaking of fans, number 3 is that plenty of fans had been exposing spoilers, and there are also many of those who ship the two like crazy. If there is so much love on the two characters, you can already get a hint that Jung-hyuk wouldn't be as bad as he appears. And even if he's really bad, he is still the type fans would adore. Another reason why it's kind of difficult to despise Jung-hyuk is because, well, the other characters in the series don't hate him either. Among Duk-ja's close allies, the only exception is Hee-won, I guess. Hyun-sung didn't get angry like she did when Jung-hyuk pointed his sword towards Duk-ja. Sang-ah got worried over an unconscious Jung-hyuk even after witnessing the same thing as Hee-won did. While Gil-young, although he did reject joining Jung-hyuk's team, it's quite surprising that a Duk-ja fanboy like him didn't get mad at Jung-hyuk for what he did to Duk-ja. Maybe they're sensitive enough to know that there's no way for Jung-hyuk to really kill Dokja even on those earlier episodes. But oh well, I don't think we can say for certain. It's quite a mystery. What's certain though is that Dokja himself doesn't treat Jung-hyuk as an enemy. So if the victim, the guy most affected by Jung-hyuk's unpleasant personality, doesn't absolutely despise him, Jung-hyuk deserves a chance to be liked then. Anyway, maybe it's more accurate to say that Dokja can't make Jung-hyuk an enemy as he needs the overpowered protagonist in order to survive. So, he is only helping out Jung-hyuk because he finds him useful. Or maybe that is only what he claims, because many of his actions imply something else. Well, the protagonist can't survive on his own either, so Dokja doesn't stop offering his help, and he still does help even if Jung-hyuk didn't ask for it. Sadly, although Dokja had proven himself to Jung-hyuk plenty of times already, Jung-hyuk still didn't cooperate with him much. The guy may have been very traumatized, causing him to have serious trust issues. That's still quite unfair to Dokja. But well, since Jung-hyuk is out of his control, Dokja had no choice but to trick him so that the protagonist wouldn't get in his way at least. Since Jung-hyuk made Dokja annoyed plenty of times, Dokja itches for opportunities to hit the guy. Since he is aware of their stats difference, he doesn't attack recklessly. But when the opportunity does come, he sure doesn't miss it. And he does it with a huge smile on his face. His revenge is not limited to punches. He didn't miss the chance of slapping Jung-hyuk too. But despite all those physical damages to Jung-hyuk that Dokja has been enjoying so much, he has no intention of hurting the guy too badly. He got worried when Jung-hyuk passed out from the level 100 strength punch he did. It shows that no matter how much Jung-hyuk had infuriated him, Dokja is still very concerned about the guy's well-being. He's concerned enough that he even initiated a rescue mission when he realized that Jung-hyuk was in danger. And when he found out that Jung-hyuk got poisoned, he not only prepared the antidote without being asked, but he also fed it to the guy. He could have asked Soo-young to do it for him, at least on the feeding part, but he did it himself at once. He even blew the newly boiled antidote for Jung-hyuk. Concerned that it will be too hot for the sick guy to take immediately. He also can't leave a paralyzed Jung-hyuk alone. Soo-young was against it, and that made Jung-hyuk hurt a little that he told Dokja to leave him behind. He must have disliked being useless, much more to be treated as a burden. But Dokja just scolded him for being dramatic. Dokja handles Jung-hyuk very delicately, especially when it comes to mental health. Although it makes him freaking annoyed that Jung-hyuk's being sensitive like a sunfish, he gives Jung-hyuk words of encouragement in his own way. Dokja's words alone had been enough for Jung-hyuk to break from the spell. Although it only happened momentarily, it still shows that Dokja's genuine feelings alone could already reach Jung-hyuk and create a miracle somehow. Jung-hyuk is very weak mentally, but Dokja was able to save him even in that state. It's not much of a surprise that Dokja was able to get through Jung-hyuk. After all, there's no one else who understands Jung-hyuk more than him. His level of understanding on Jung-hyuk is already very high in the beginning, that his skill immediately leveled up upon his first interaction with the protagonist, giving him the ability to hear Jung-hyuk's thoughts. But even without that ability, he still knows Junghyuk so well that he can predict what Junghyuk's next move is going to be. He can also figure out Junghyuk's intentions, although they won't make much sense to the others. He knows what kind of person Junghyuk is, that he only questions Junghyuk's actions when the guy does something out of character. Junghyuk is a man of few words and often makes drastic and crazy actions. Because of that, he is easily misunderstood. Junghyuk is used to being misunderstood, making him feel alone in the world. But one day, some guy suddenly tells him that he knows how he feels. For certain, his comrades in his earlier regressions had shown some understanding towards him, but not in the same level as this new guy had. So finally, for the first time, he meets someone who truly and deeply understood him. There's no way for Dokja not to understand him anyway, since he has been watching over Junghyuk in his journey for over a decade. He was the sole reader who never left Junghyuk by reading all those 3,000 chapters of TWSA. What could be more passionate than a reader's love to a certain series? Well, I think it's none other than the love for a character. Unless you have incredible photographic memory, it's actually natural to forget about certain events and details even from your favorite story. But things related to a favorite character will no doubt be very memorable. Even the little things. And that favorite character doesn't necessarily have to be the main character. So, for example, you may have forgotten how exactly the main character defeated the final boss, but you celebrate the birthday of your favorite supporting character every year. On Dokja's case though, his favorite happened to be the main character. He is literally Junghyuk's #1 fanboy. He won't outright admit it, of course, but the way he looks up to Junghyuk for inspiration shows it. When he's being bullied, he tries his best to hold on, thinking that he's being strong like Junghyuk that way. When he is at a loss, he wonders about what Junghyuk would do in that situation. Junghyuk has pretty much become his role model. Since he kept on imagining himself as Junghyuk plenty of times, it has become quite easy for him to act like Junghyuk. Even though Dokja isn't seen as strikingly handsome as the way Junghyuk is being portrayed in TWSA, his superb acting skills had managed to fool a lot of characters. Dokja is already a great actor, but role-playing as Junghyuk is his specialty. He does it without much effort. For us readers to easily differentiate Dokja in serious or in role-play mode, it's amusing that Dokja in role-play mode is often presented in a comical way in the webtoon. If TWSA had become very popular and there's some cosplay convention, we totally know who Dokja is going to cosplay as. Speaking of cosplay, he somewhat had an opportunity to do so in that apocalyptic setting using an item that can change appearance. Thanks to Dokja, we managed to see Junghyuk's face in various expressions. You see, Junghyuk is usually expressionless, sometimes surprised, but most of the time angry. Junghyuk's face looks kinda weird with Dokja's hairstyle and height though, but that didn't stop people from being attracted to the face. Both guys and gals blush over Junghyuk's handsome face. I think we only had the opportunity to see characters fan over Junghyuk thanks to Dokja. Because if it were the real Junghyuk, he has this murderous aura that will make people feel their fear towards him more than their attraction towards him. Well, Dokja didn't exactly impersonate Junghyuk in order to gain attention. He was mainly using the guy's name for his secret plans. He also used Junghyuk to glorify himself, making Junghyuk appear to have considered him a dangerous rival. It might seem like Dokja was bad-mouthing himself, but he is actually also making himself more intimidating, making others be cautious of him as much as they fear Junghyuk. And secretive plotter finds it very shameless. Although Dokja portraying himself being as cool as Junghyuk is depicted as a joke, if you think about it, he's actually very incredible in his own way. Even without Junghyuk's handsome face, he managed to get one of Junghyuk's harem. Perhaps we could even say that Jiwon had fallen for Dokja more than she had with Junghyuk, since Dokja didn't even have the looks to have an actress like her so attracted to him. In addition, although Dokja didn't exactly have Junghyuk's charisma that make people follow him for being so overpowered, he had gained some loyal fans. Gil-young is the most clingy so far. Then there's this other kid who also calls him Hyung. And we have this gentle giant Hyun-sung who would feel lonely if Dokja leaves him behind. And even if Ji-hae is showing more respect towards her master, Dokja had impressed her enough that she directly told him that she doesn't want him to die. She finds it so cool that Dokja had the guts to stand up against her master. Although Dokja has won the hearts of many, including Junghyuk's former close comrades, his big flaw is that he kinda overprotects them. He often takes most of the work, especially the dangerous ones. Although we see many moments wherein the team surrounds Dokja to protect him or rescue him, that usually happens only when against small fry. But when it comes to more dangerous opponents and situations, Dokja automatically tells his team to stay behind him, using his small body as a shield. Dokja also protects his precious teammates from Junghyuk. No matter how much he favors Junghyuk, Dokja cannot let him hurt his children. The lack of growth on Dokja's comrades makes Junghyuk so disappointed in him. Junghyuk even gives him an earful when they witness one of Dokja's members being able to grow so much by just being separated from him for a few days. Dokja claims that since he's just a reader, he can only do so much. He uses that limitation as an excuse whenever he fails at something. But even though he's just a mere reader, he doesn't stop wishing that he could act like a protagonist at times, or will have the same luck as Junghyuk at least, like on this moment when he fought the dragon. Once he got successful on that, he later began assuming that he should be able to learn the path of the wind as easily as Junghyuk did. But unfortunately for him, he still couldn't do it even after 2 days, although it only took Junghyuk 5 minutes. He got so immersed in being like Junghyuk that he had been in the illusion that he's already as fantastic as the protagonist. He became full of himself, but Soo-young gave him the wake-up call on that, much to his annoyance. The gap in the difference of their talent hits him so hard. Nonetheless, there's no occasion wherein Dokja really felt intimidated towards Junghyuk. Well, exceptions may be when Junghyuk shows his deadly glare. It's so scary that he can't help but jump and step back, as far away as possible for his dear life. But anyway, Dokja has not been intimidated in the sense that he could talk back and even talk over Junghyuk. He even tells his insults directly. Not to mention, on as early as their first interaction, he already points out to Junghyuk that he doesn't want to be considered as an underling. And as his senior, Dokja also demanded to be treated with respect. He calls Junghyuk like a close junior on every opportunity he gets, as in, Junghyuk ka! Adding the "a" suffix is often used by older people to the younger ones who are close to them. It's the same as how he calls Gilyong, but it's not the same as to how he calls Hyunsung, even though these three are around the same age. Although Dokja had somewhat embarrassed him during this moment, Junghyuk still did what he was asked to do. He also does Dokja the favor of not taking his flag from him during the fourth scenario, even though Dokja didn't request for it. Possibly, he did that just because he feels indebted to Dokja for rescuing him, but still, it shows that during that time, Dokja saving him made his killing intentions slowly fade away. So, on the second time, when Junghyuk had asked someone whether he will be killing Dokja or not, he did not plan to kill him at all. And this made even Dokja surprised. Other than that, the biggest change in Junghyuk's behavior towards Dokja was when he called out for him. It was the first time Dokja hears his name from Junghyuk without a murderous tone. When needing help, Dokja is the first person who came to his mind. Although paralyzed, he used his remaining strength to ask someone to bring him to Dokja. Despite his initial trust issues with Dokja, he now trusts Dokja enough to continue such an important mission for him. Perhaps his desire to save mankind is just that important to him, or he's also just being practical. Nonetheless, he set aside the pride of being the great savior and asked for Dokja to take his place. He's not very good at communicating though. His request for help sounded like a command to Dokja, making Dokja irritated. But once Dokja understood his intentions, he forgot complaining about it. Interestingly, the reason why Junghyuk approached Dokja is not only because he trusted the guy. He firmly believed that Dokja is capable of doing it. Despite their few interactions that didn't have much violence, Junghyuk acknowledges Dokja's abilities and wit, and he is able to figure out the reason behind Dokja's actions and even praises him for it. He could also anticipate Dokja's next moves. It shows that Junghyuk is one of those few people who understands Dokja so well, if not the one who understands him the best. And that's a guy who used to be very uncooperative with Dokja. Before, Junghyuk doesn't always directly respond to Dokja when being asked. But later, when they finally started to have a serious conversation, he answers every single question Dokja asks him, even the things that are kind of personal or the topics he's kind of sensitive about. It's like he has become very open to Dokja. Not only that, Junghyuk had also begun to show some concern over Dokja's safety when he warned him about one of the girls with them being very dangerous. And when Dokja needed a helping hand, Junghyuk helps out even if he hasn't fully recovered yet. This is how strong Junghyuk could be as an ally. Now that Dokja is finally having peaceful conversations with Junghyuk, he learns even more things about the guy. Not everything about Jung-hyuk is revealed in the novel he read, so his high level of understanding towards Jung-hyuk becomes even higher as they interact more. They would make an incredible duo when they work together. There will be more about them joining forces in the future chapters. However, even though these two are slowly starting to get along, in the future, there will still be more scenes of Jung-hyuk wanting to kill Dokja. Unlike in the initial chapters though, it's going to be more of for comedic effect next time, I guess. They're like cat and mouse, a wild Jung-hyuk chasing after the rat Dokja. Anyone can die by just being around in their little fights. Dokja and Jung-hyuk are like in a love-hate relationship. Even though he's the greatest Jung-hyuk supporter, Dokja can't say that he totally likes the guy. Actually, it's more like he likes and hates Jung-hyuk at the same time. He tried to explain that feeling to Hee-won, saying that how he sees Jung-hyuk is similar to how siblings care and get annoyed with each other. Although very similar, it's not the same either. It's complicated. It's going to be similar to Jung-hyuk. Jung-hyuk may have started to acknowledge Dokja, but Dokja still continues to get on his nerves. But in his own way, he listens, cooperates, understands, helps, and cares. With that, the special companionship has begun. Well, their relationship could be interpreted in many ways. One of the popular ones is that they are being seen as a couple, not only by fans in our world, but even in-universe. As in, there are shippers among the characters in Omniscient Reader itself. The popularity of the pairing skyrocketed in-universe when Ji-hae made a scandalous revelation about Dokja's sexuality. Or maybe it's not exactly scandalous, since instead of having their reputation ruined, Dokja and Jung-hyuk got even more supporters. Although Ji-hae misunderstood the situation because she only managed to hear the twisted version of Dokja's lines in the cinema dungeon, since he's earning coins from it anyway, Dokja gave up correcting them. Of course, he also made Jung-hyuk suffer along with him. Anyway, secretive plotter may have been flabbergasted from that revelation. That didn't stop him from supporting Dokja, while Prisoner of the Golden Headband shows respect. Too bad we didn't get to know about the abysmal Black Flame Dragon's reaction. But anyway, it's interesting to know that the characters in this series are generally open-minded. Speaking of which, I suppose it's quite obvious by now that the demonic Judge of Fire, also known as Angel Uriel, ships them like crazy. She is like this rich fangirl that makes the duo do some fan service by showering them with coins. And she's quite discreet about it, making the duo not realize her hidden intentions. Anyway, even if Dokja and Jung-hyuk's first interaction wasn't a friendly one, little by little, they began to trust each other and form a strong bond like no other in the series. They had plenty of other moments in the later chapters, of course, especially now that they have finally started to get along. After all, what was shown in this video so far is just the beginning. So, for more videos related to ORV, I suggest that you hit the subscribe button. And as always, likes, shares, and comments will be highly appreciated. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!